Hello, 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 and welcome to the Friday edition of the Misfit Toys Comedy Live Stream Live Cast. We have the amazing, talented Monique Flores. How you doing, girl? Some snaps and some
Hello,
chicken.
hello, babe. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, happy Friday. Our co-host, Maija DiGiorgio, she will be hopefully arriving soon. But until then, I would love to know breakfast in BITCH. So, what did you have for breakfast, and what is bizarre, ironic, terrifying, crazy, and hard about life?
Wow, that was loaded. Uh, what I had for breakfast this morning, I cheated a little bit because I've been see I had COVID in November. We're just gonna go right into it. I had
Get
COVID
right
in
into it.
November.
Get right into it.
I had COVID in November, and I lost like some weight with COVID. So I'm trying to keep the COVID weight down. So I've been watching what I eat, but today I cheated a little bit. I had a chorizo burrito with
I love it. I love it.
and I didn't stop there. I'm like add the beans and add the bacon, but I only had half, so I'll have the other half tomorrow. That's what I had for breakfast.
Nice.
And then
what is
what's
bizarre, ironic, terrifying, crazy, and hard about life right now for you, Monique?
what's bizarre, terrifying? What's bizarre is that I'm you know what I've been tripping on this week, that I'm gonna be 39 this year. I'm like, where the hell did it go? Because I don't feel 39. Like
You
the
don't
other
look
day.
39. It's
Thank
just
you.
a number.
Shout out to my parents' jeans. It's weird because I was like, I went on a walk with my friends earlier this past week, and my friend had to remind me, because I was like, because we're 36, and she's like, Mo, we're not 36. I was like, what? She's like, bitch, carry the one. Like, you're gonna be 39 this year. And I was like, damn, this is true. So that's kind of bizarre. I'm just like, because then like next year's 40, right? So
do you feel pressure? Like, what do
for
you feel
what, babe?
pressure about hitting 40? Like, is there a career pressure, or is it an age thing? Is there like, what's the pressure that you feel? Or is it just like, is it the family thing? Because I know you don't have kids. So is it
I
like the
don't.
family thing, and being Latina, it's like they expect
Yeah,
you to be,
I think it's a combination of things, like where am I at in life? Where do I want to be? Maybe, if I'm being honest, a little dash of not having children, just because like I have some down ass friends that were like team no kids with me that now have kids, and I'm like, fuck you bitches. I'm just kidding. I'm not. I'm happy for them. I'm pretty sure they love their kids, but it goes away really quick, especially with a cocktail. All that fam shit, and like I can just do whatever I want tonight. Like I don't got to worry about mijo or whatever. And I'm pretty sure that has all its joys, but I don't know it. So ignorance is bliss, so it's just self pressure. I don't really get pressure from my family anymore. Not so much. My mom, like she says, I gave up a long time ago. I'm her only daughter, so I'm messing up the circle of life. My two older brothers have kids and they've given her grandchildren, but a baby hasn't come out of my vagina, and I came out of her vagina. I'm quoting my mother. She's like, you came out of my vagina, and a baby needs to come out of your vagina, and then my life is complete. And I'm like, what about being like self-independent and getting a college education and having my own career and all those things you taught me, Mom? She's like, no. Throw all that out the door. I was saying that, but I didn't know you were going to give me a baby, So, but she gave up on that a long time ago. So I think it's just self pressure. That's kind of like, my bizarre stuff that's happening. Terrifying. I'm cool on all that. And what was the other one, love?
What's been crazy or hard in life?
Crazy or hard? I think this pandemic's been a little crazy, especially as a performer. Obviously, you go from entertaining people weekly basis, 2 to 3 times a week, at least, hundreds of people in front of you, to being.
You used to do this amazing show called Yas Comedy at the Ice House.
Yes, it was a monthly show. Me and my boy, Narciso Gonzalez. Shout out to him. He's my neighbor. We actually share a wall. So we are 2 comics that are neighbors that also used to produce a show together. And it's just, that was a great thing. That was organically growing into like sold out shows. So, just to not have that anymore. And it's been so long since we've experienced a comedy club, because I have done outside shows and I'm very thankful for them. But, the feel of going into a club, hanging at the bar, seeing other comics, maybe hopping on another show, all of that, I kind of forgot what that feels like. And Facebook memories always gives me this, like, little memory, like, hey, you know what you were doing this time last year? You were selling out shows. And I'm just like, that's nice, yeah. So
selling out shows. Let's welcome her to the stream. Our new co-host, Maija DiGiorgio.
What's up? How you doing?
Hello.
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I'm late, so I had to put on makeup as Monique was talking, and I just felt like so natural because I was like, I'm with my homies. I can put on put on a little mascara and be cool. And I love Narciso, so I automatically love you without even listening to you. I'm like,
yeah, he's my neighbor, my next door neighbor. You know what I did with him this morning? I'm like, bitch, I'm not your boyfriend. I helped him put antifreeze in his car. Like, and he's like, well, check out my Instagram at Just Say Mo. It's pretty hilarious. Like, he was like, well, why does it smell like it's burning? I'm like, I don't know, bro. I'm not Jiffy Lube. Like, I just know how to put.
That is so funny. I'm so glad. You know what? I'm so glad because I know he's been through such a hard time with his sister passing. It just makes me feel great that I'm like, oh, he's close to someone who's right there.
Love
that is sending love. Yeah. So he's hilarious and talented and just a sweetheart. So
yeah, shout out to him.
Maija, you just popped in time. It's time to breakfast in BITCH. So tell us what was for breakfast, and then what's been going on? What's bizarre? Ironic,
wait, no,
crazy and hard because you're back in LA. You're not.
Yes. What's bizarre, ironic, crazy and hard? Now I have and what's for breakfast, and it all ties together.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started this cleanse. It's a diet that it's kind of like a lifestyle change. They say don't go diet, go lifestyle change, and it's called Smoothie Cleanse. And my friend lost like 50, 60 pounds on it. My best friend. And she wasn't well. She had a lot of health problems. And so what she did was she did this diet and she looks amazing. She went from like a 22 to like a 10. And every time she starts to put on a little weight, she just rolls back and does like 2 weeks of the smoothie or 10 days of the smoothie diet. But this woman, JJ Smith, a sister, her diet is fabulous. So you still have some body. You're not trying to look like a twig.
I got a cheaper version. It's called Montezuma. You just drink the water down in Baja.
I'm on my way. Send me some like a crystal bottle of water.
I ate some street tacos last week at the new taco stand that I should not have been eating at. And I'm like, I just lost 10 pounds like that. I was like, I don't need no smoothie. The Montezuma.
You're hilarious. Well, what's funny is that your skin looks like amazing within 3 or 4 days. Okay, so I have another friend. Do you remember comedian Jeffrey Husbands?
Yes.
He'd do shows over with Adam Barnhart at the store. And then he took over running my shows at the Improv. Now, when I first started working with Jeff, his neck was huge. Like that's how heavy he was. You could see it in his head. So I talk him into doing this.
Neck and not in your waist.
Yeah, no, everywhere. But it's like, it was, so he has to do, so he does the JJ Smith cleanse with me. He literally lost all of it. In like days, his skin looked amazing. It fell right off. And so now we're walking into the bodega across from the Clown House downtown. And we're walking into this rustic bodega and the guy's like Russian and he's like, you look amazing. I can't do a Russian accent, but he's like, you look amazing. What happened? And so I'm there. So I'm like, oh, it's Smoothie Cleanse. So I send it to the guy. We literally go back there a week later. The guy looks like a totally different guy. His face was gray. Now it's peachy. He's like, look at all the weight I lost.
Smoothie Cleanse.
Yeah, JJ Smith. And so she just did a keto cleansing, and part of it is you have to do intermittent fasting. Now, I'm a foodaholic. Like I will talk. My friend said I need to do a food vlog because I'm so obsessed with the preparation of food, who's got the best food, wherever you go, traveling, finding the best spots, the best bar. I could talk about it for hours. For me to have to do intermittent fasting it's like the worst pain ever. Now, I've done it successful in Florida, but I had to fly back to Los Angeles.
Jews are in Florida, so you're just used to us Jews.
No. My father moved to the wrong coast by accident. It is all rednecks, like the kind of people who have pickup trucks with Trump, with the muscles, with the Rambo like flags, and I'm like, I should never see those in person. Unless I'm working at the Capitol, I should never ever have seen those in my face for my entire
Orange County. They're everywhere.
Oh my God, it's crazy. So these guys are driving by. So for me to do Smoothie Cleanse, because I'm not a big fan of mayonnaise. It's okay to like starve myself on a diet in Redneckville, but I had to go with the time zone.
You've lost your New York card. You've lost it. You've lost it. You've lost it. I'm sorry, but no, all your New York street cred is out the smoothie door. Like it's just gone. I'm sorry, you can't.
Is it the
New York
smoothie or
on a
is it
smoothie
the
cleanse.
redneck or is it redneck Florida that they moved to? Is that what that? Where did I lose it? I'm trying to figure out where.
Maybe the mayonnaise? I don't know.
Oh no, I won't know because like literally, my sister married like this like model guy, so his family was down there. Didn't know they were all like rednecks, so they moved down there, and now everyone's starving. You can't get a pastrami sandwich, you can't get a slice of pizza, you can't get a bagel, and everyone's miserable. So anyway, I came home and I'm on a time zone change with intermittent fasting. So now I gotta wait not just to eat, but I gotta wait an extra 3 hours to restart my intermittent fasting. So that is the most painful thing in my entire life. Because at the end of like what's now looking like 18 hours to a meal, I get a avocado smoothie to break. That's hell. Like I don't get pancakes. I don't get to go to Dupar's and get pancakes and bacon and little blue plate special with a couple extra eggs on top. No. I get a spinach. Oh, look at you down there.
This is my breakfast. But then I had a bagel.
Oh, you had a bagel. How are the bagels there?
But the thing is, so I'm in San Diego right now. So I get the bagel, and I'm staying in Shutter Island, which I love. It's my favorite place because it looks across the city. So it's beautiful. And then I'm walking. The thing about San Diego that just got me is the amount of homeless vets that are here. And it really struck this thing because like I would say 80% of the homeless men that I met and talked to were all vets. And I make it a point. These are this is my warrior built crew. They they come down to Baja and we host them for the Baja 5000. And they're all combat vets that have been blown up in battle. And I have a real, like I love America, and I think, and I wish that America took better care of those that take care of America. So I'm like, every time I see him, I give him some money, I give him some food. So this morning, I see this homeless vet, Terrence, and I just give him the other half of my bagel, and we sit and we chat. And he tells me about, his stories. And the problem is, so this is what my BITCH is. They can't get into the system. They don't know how to. You have to access Wi-Fi to be able to get your benefits, and you have to have an email, and you have to have a password, and so we don't have. They need to have traveling like office Wi-Fi place that will help register. They can't even get the benefits that they deserve because they don't even know how to get to they're just it's broken, and they try to get into the library, and the library shoos them out because they can't use the for the Wi-Fi. And so as far as making, like, people are like, oh, how do we make a change with the home? Like, how about just someone going around with a portable computer and a hotspot and registering and getting them into this so they can at least get their benefits? So that's my BITCH for the morning and for the week. So
I love that. I mean, maybe we can do something where we go out like once every like 10 days and and find a way to go and do that, or find some people like to volunteer and try to help. I mean, like, listen, my mentor who passed away because of lack of care from the VA, but he was a Vietnam combat vet that was actually a hero, saved a bunch of people. He was a Big Red One in Vietnam. But he said that what they had done so badly with the Vietnam records that you couldn't even access your records. So he said out of like 18 people that he tried to find records to get them disability, they all claimed that all of them never even went to Vietnam. But you have guys with one arm or guys with one leg. So how do they, what are they talking about? So it's been, So I, and I'd be down to like, especially once this is over. And of course they need the help now, but if there's something to do where we can organize stuff online, or even if we just go, okay, we can pull something together. I'm down to do that. I'm down.
Do a outdoor comedy festival, and at the same time register them with have portable hotspots so you can get some comedy, get yourself into the system. We get the LA crew.
Well, I think you can get tablets with cellular on it already.
I can do it on my iPad. So Oh, I really want to give a shout out to Denise and Ray and Susanna. We've got Mistress K. Everybody's tuning in from all over the UK, LA, New York. We got people in South Africa and Hong Kong. So I love you all. Right in.
Hello, everybody.
Questions. So I want to just, Monique, tell us about your comedy journey. What got you into comedy? And how has it been? Has it been an easy breezy cover girl story, or were there some struggles?
Well, yes, there was personal struggles, and there's outside struggles, but I got into comedy because I got into comedy probably about 11 years ago. But my first year, I went up like once, and that was it. So because of my own personal stuff, like, am I good enough? Blah 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 blah. But how did I get into it? Was because I was
right there real quick. So your biggest challenge was yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of comics go through that. You know, am I funny? How long can I sustain this? Things like that, you know? So yeah, I think maybe my first year, maybe went up once or twice, waited a whole year, and then did like a comedy competition. And then I was like, okay, I've done 3 shows. I did this comedy competition. Maybe I am funny, you know? Let me start taking it a little bit more seriously. So that's that. And actually last couple weeks ago was like the 11-year mark. But the way I got into it was because, I was in the real estate. So I did like home finance. I worked for Wells Fargo. I worked for Chase. I did commercial lending, and I did home loan lending. And all of that obviously went to crap. And my aunt invited me to a comedy show, and I was like, I don't want to go. I'm feeling sorry for myself. She's very outspoken. So after the show, these comics were trying to holler at her, like, and they were like, so what'd you ladies think of the show? Now I'm like being quiet in the corner because I've just like lost my monthly income, and I had pink eye that week. So I'm like, I don't want to say anything to these guys. And so my aunt, she was like, the comic sucked. My niece right here is funnier than any of you guys. And I was like, no, don't say that. What the hell are you saying? You know? And the guy was like, really? And then they all look at me, and I'm just like frumpy, probably mocos in my mouth because I've been crying because I went from making thousands of dollars to nothing.
Boogers. Green.
Yeah. They're like, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of funny, I guess. And the host, shout out to AD, he said, I'll give you 3 minutes next week. And I did it. And I did pretty well. I mean, somebody recorded that set, and I recently went back to it. And it's pretty good. I mean, I have to say. So, but then that's the thing. So like after I told you guys like the year, I know I'm sidebarring a little bit, but you know, remember how I said, okay, the second year I was like, I'm gonna take this. And I was killing it for like 3 to 4 months. I was like, what is this? Nobody bombs BS, you know? And then I bombed for like 3 weeks straight. And I was like, this is what bombing is. Okay. I humbled myself, you know? Yeah. Because my first time was a success. Now, mind you, I had 50 people there. Second time was cool. I won these comedy competitions. I kept on like doing well. And then, you know, I went to Flappers one day and nobody laughed. I was like, okay. Then I went to some fundraiser gig and nobody laughed. And I was just like, all right, girl. Okay. So this is what they mean. So that's kind of like how I got into it. My corporate career kind of ended and my comedy career kind of started, you know, but I've always still had a corporate background, like working at banks or doing loans and stuff like that. And that's been another struggle. Like, when do you show more love to one career versus the other? How do you balance that, you know, and still make money and still pay your rent? That's always been a struggle as well.
What do you think about that, Maija? Like, as far as do you need to have a side hustle as a comedian? Is it important to have something like another revenue stream?
I mean,
other kind of like, is that, you know, that balance?
I don't think you have a choice when you're starting, because it's so hard to get into a place to make money before you have a TV credit. So really it's about posturing yourself to get a TV credit. And once you get a credit, and then you also have certain slots of time. So you have like, can I do 5? Can I do 10? Can I do 15? And it depends on then where you can be placed in the show. If you know you're hosting, people put comics up to host, and they treat hosts on the West Coast as if they're not that important. In New York, you really train to be a host, and it's an amazing experience. It makes you a better comic, and it gives you so much interaction, because even if you're just working on interacting with people, and then you get to bring a person up. So there's different stages in your development. You're trying to, you know, and it's funny because I remember having when I first started, and I was I had about 10 minutes and things were going really amazing. Like my first year, I did 5 national TV spots in my first year, but it took me, to like, so does it count as a first year? Because the first year I really worked at it, or did I start and stop and then disappear and think I could, which is what I think most people do. They test it and then I didn't want anything to do with comedy, but that was that's very rare. And it take the pressure of you having to make money. And also in New York City, the clubs don't pay you in the city. So we're paying you in chicken wings. If you got a spot, if you get a weekend spot, you're getting $50. Now I think it's up to 100, but then the price of apartments is so much. Going on the road, you're still barely clearing any money. Guys that I know have been doing it for 30 years that are probably the best comics I've ever seen in my life are still struggling to pay for their family, pay the kids, house, their bills. I know that, and I was talking to someone once talking about in the UK that they would do a door split in the UK, all the major clubs, so they can send their kids to private school. But you're really working for decades without pay. And the only time you're getting paid is if you book a TV show, you book a host job. And if you book like, let's say like a TV spot, like just you're doing your 10, 20-minute spot, unless you're doing a full half hour, they're not paying you for a half hour. They're going to pay you like $1,500 for that one spot. So now like the wait staff may come home with $500, $800 a night, but the comic will come home with $50 or just a free meal. So it's really it's how do you survive? So I think the key is definitely don't feel bad about whatever it is you have to do, because because the pressure of doing severe time in comedy and not getting paid for that time is just disheartening. And then you're living in a place where you don't even feel good about yourself anymore. So it's very important to keep that self-balance of, I have a place where I can live. I'm with my family, even if you're with your family, that I can take care of myself, that I can keep myself up, that I can buy the makeup I need, that I can put on some nice clothes and not be desperate. Because
this is important, that my manager, really emphasizes, like, that level of desperation, that survival. When you're in survival mode, you make different decisions, and alleviating that sense of desperation, that sense of survival, where you don't have to survive from your comedy, it alleviates so much pressure from your creativity. And then you can actually, because I know for me, when I was starting out, I had that pressure. So I sacrificed my own comedic voice for what was marketable. And I wasn't out on stage because I was doing, and I started to become successful and I started to get booked and get paid, but I did it in a way where it was costing me emotionally. And so it's interesting, this balance where it's like the more success I had, the emptier my soul and the emptier and then it split. And that's when I died.
Same thing with me, because when I first started, I was doing Def Jam, and so that's all the TV tapings were mostly based on a style of which I consider a style difference, which is hip hop comedy in the core of when hip hop comedy first started. So it was you got to prove that you're as hardcore, as thugged out, as like you just had to be at that. You had to work at that level, which I have, like, my roots, my family is very bougie. And so I couldn't condense that into a certain style of joke that would please that market. So I worked towards that market, but it burned me out because I couldn't then create the hour that would come, or I couldn't even stretch because I had to create a specific thing that I was like, is this cool? Or is this not cool? I'm going to need one of those little symbols too. So then if I'm going to be co-host, I need like yeses and nos. And then the manager I worked with the last 2 years, as I've come back into comedy, he said something which is exactly what you said. He said, if my clients are panicked about eating, sleeping, being able to keep a roof over their heads, they can't create. So I ended up very, very blessed with a manager for the first time in my career that is as concerned about me having money in my pocket as much as me getting on that audition. Because he knows I'm only going to get better the more shows I have. But he's like so concerned. Like, in fact, during the pandemic, he's going nuts because he really prides himself on making sure when his clients had kids and families and lives and divorces, and that he was going to be the guy that could make up the difference for them to be able to survive. And I don't know any manager in the business that I have met that has done that, as opposed to like, I'm going to get you up for this and you're on your own for the rest. But he literally has done. I was on the road for a year and a half, and it only raised my value to him for the long term, because I became so much of a better comedian being put in all these different places. And he also told me, don't swear. He said, if you can work clean, I can make you money, because people will have you back. And I've always been like that comic who was like, because I've always worked like A New York clubs or A LA clubs. Well, I'm new to the A LA clubs, but I was always at A New York club, and you could swear. But when he said, I'm going to put you in the Poconos or down at in Atlantic City at the Borgata, and I'm going to put you here, but I can only put you there if you work clean. So now and when I worked with Sinbad on the road too, I was like, do I have to be clean? He was like, do whatever. And the audience actually was turned off to me because I wasn't working. I was putting in little phrases. I was like, I'll just put a swear here or a swear there. And after about like the third time out with him on the road, I all of a sudden was like, wait a minute. All I needed was a rhythm to get to this line. If I just put this other phrase in, it works fine. I didn't need to put a swear there. I just didn't finish the joke. So I think that if I'm doing a special, it's different, but on your swearing or wherever. But to work on the road, to be booked in a lot of these A venues, and I know Jamie Masada prefers for people to be clean, that there's a market for that. And even now coming back into comedy, because I quit for so many years, Dry Bar, completely clean. It's gotten me over like 4 million views, and I wouldn't have had it if I wasn't clean.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love Dry Bar. I love Dry Bar. So Monique, do you feel as far like, I'm gonna change. I want to know the Green Room Chronicles, behind the scenes, behind the curtain. Do you have any secret stories, funny moments? Because everyone sees it up front, but a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Do you have any?
I think the most thing that I can take away from the Green Room is men are worse gossipers than women. These chicks, they gossip. So I'm like, and it's women that are the chismosas. These guys, back and forth, and I'm just like, and then they look to me for like some assurance. I'm like, oh, I don't know anything about. I'm not co-signing on none of this. I'm just gonna watch you guys. They are cha-chas, dude. They talk so much. And then, they'll be cool. And then, some comic, like at the Ice House, it lets you, there's a screen in there so you can see who's on the main stage. And then they just love to hate. Oh yeah, his Netflix special wasn't even that funny. And then that comment comes back and they're like, hey, what's up, dog? Can I open up for you then sometime? It's like, you just, I don't know. I'm very like, I don't ever want to be caught up in that. So I'm going to say it to your face type thing. But men love to gossip. That's one of my biggest takeaways from the Green Room. They gossip more than women, 100%.
If you were to give a up and coming comedian, we got some amazing comedians that are on the rise, some advice of how to comport yourself behind the scenes or when you get to the club, what would you say, Monique, and what would you say, Maija?
You want to go first, Maija?
I know you can go first. I kind of got zoned by your story because you were so right about.
Are you thinking about all
the Green Room and
you heard?
It just put me in a place. So I'm enjoying Monique.
I would say, okay, for don't show up drunk. I would say don't drink till after your set. Maybe have one to get you loose if you need that, but just chill. Don't click up and like just kind of, I never clicked up. A lot of these, you'll see like these 4 comics work together solely. For me, I never really clicked up. I just kind of just always have been, because I want to be on it. I don't want to be like, I had a comic one time say, hey, you're talking to this comic and I have beef with him. And I'm like, but I don't got beef with him. Like, why is your beef my beef? He's like, well, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I was like, okay, well, bye. Stuff like that. I would just say yes. And, just don't chime in on any chisme and gossip and cosign, because you never know. People like to talk and it can come back to you. And then there could be another little creeper in the corner that said, yeah, Monique said this when so-and-so was talking about you. And then it just gets blown up. And, and then it's
you don't have something nice to say, Just and I wish
Just
someone
stay neutral, everybody. Even if you're even if you feel that way, just best to just don't, just because these people like to talk. I'm just saying.
What do you think, Maija? You're nodding in agreement.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with her. I think, it took me a very long time, and a very long time. I remember when I first started and people would dog me, and I remember Wanda Sykes. I would complain to Wanda, and Wanda would be like, at least they're talking about you.
That's
Yeah.
true. So they're going to talk. And the other thing is that if you look at it as if we were on a football field and you had competition and people said all kinds of craziness around you, you wouldn't take it personal. But because we're in this casual environment where there's a bar and everyone's drinking and everyone continues to go back to the same club and hang out every night with the same crew, we forget that we're kind of on the football field. And it's taken me a very long time to also realize that, I think if we all understand the lack is that we're all afraid that the one slot that someone got is the only slot that there is. Because there's also comics that I've loved and combated with, and then life goes on, and some people have even passed away. Comics had passed away early on in life, and then you think back and you go like, my God, I wasted bickering over something with them, and being offended by something that, when literally you'll do comedy years later, and I'm finding people that I was like, don't you remember that happened? And that person said, you said this to me, and they're like, no, I don't remember that. I don't remember I ever thought that. I always really liked you, because this is a life career. This is a lifetime. And you forget that, you may be angry with your sister, but you still cool with your sister because you see them often. But sometimes we carry all this stuff with us, and somebody will be, I was so upset. I thought you meant this. And you didn't mean that at all. Or so
that happens.
Yeah. So if we just look at it like we're on a football field, and everyone is the fact that comics don't get paid and are kind of pitted against each other. And the comics also we're comedians because we are kind of, there's something weird about a comic's personality. So we like to chatter, we like to complain, because that's what we're doing professionally on the mic. There's a lot of blurred lines in what we do. So if the key is to go in. And what I like about Iggy is he's go in and be whole souled. And I there's CISOs like this too. You go in and you be whole souled and you be giving to everybody, and you just try to pick everybody else up. And if you do that, then lift the conversation, elevate the thought, raise the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna be cheesy. I took that little Tony Robbins course.
Oh, I love him.
And everyone makes fun of it, and it's a little culty. But there was one thing that he really mentioned, and that really got me, was always give more than you get. Always give more than you get in every situation. So when I show up, leave it better than you found it. Even in every interaction, when I go to a coffee shop, even when in the hotel, I'm like, hey, what's up? How are you? How's your, for Gina Brion, she always tells me, how's your mental? How you doing? What's going on? The thing, and just giving them a little just something, just leaving a little bit better. And what can you bring? And so when you show up at the club, I did this great show with here in San Diego. It was right on Sunset Cliffs, and it was an outdoor front lawn show, and I took 4 hours. I drove to be part of the show. I'm wearing my fur coat, my mom's fur coat, and my mask and the thing. And I showed with 2 bags of beers and snacks and and I'm like, all right, let's have some fun, and I brought extra gear in case they needed lighting or whatever. You show up with more, you wouldn't show up at someone's house for a dinner party empty-handed. You show up with some flowers, some wine. You just show up, bring something extra. And if everybody takes that little, just, it doesn't have to be a lot, but just a little extra, people remember. And over time, and it's changed my life completely. And it's been 6 months that I've been trying to really wake up every day and be like, how can I, in every how can I make this person's day just a little bit better? just a little bit better. What can I do? What can I do? And I know I'm super extra, and some people are like, girl, you know what you can do for me? Stop talking and take a break in the front. Be quiet.
That'll make my day better.
Yeah. I'm like,
But I agree with you. I think it comes down to, if we remember that most comics are driven to comedy because they're hurting as well. So, I mean, it's sometimes hard to see it that way. And then it's also hard too, to be able to set your boundaries. Say, this is my boundaries. If I don't like the environment, don't be afraid to go find a new environment of people to work around. And I've had to do that a lot. Some things have just been out of hand, and I've had to be wise and protective enough to say, I don't belong here, and it's time for me to leave. But the thing is that I agree. Especially with the pandemic, I think we're all checking on each other a little bit more. And I think that, I hope that remains, because I think we're having to find some sincerity with each other. So,
Yeah.
Monique, I know. So you're Latina, correct?
Yes.
But you're not first generation.
No, I'm actually third generation.
So are you a Mexican or a Mexican speak Spanish?
I'm a Mexican, can speak Spanish pretty well for being third generation. I mean,
so what's it like to be third generation? Is there different expectations?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I'm going to be using I statements. I don't want to, bring on anything. But for me, it was, because so my parents didn't speak Spanish at home every day, like maybe when we were around my grandparents. So I get words mixed up sometimes, but I could get a little judgment from like my friends that are maybe children of immigrants, maybe the lady that took my order this morning with my burrito when I asked for chile verde and I said it funny. And I'm like, but I used to have a complex about that. But now I'm like, you know what? I can't roll my R's and you can't say chair. We're even. You know what I mean? Like I'm over having that complex about what if I don't say this in the right tense? What if I don't do that? Because the fact of the matter is, for my friends that are children of immigrants and people that have made fun of my accent or the way I speak Spanish, I'm like your great grandchild. So when you have a great grandchild, and let's see if you're still speaking Spanish to them, then you come back at me and talk about me by the way I've had, the way I speak Spanish. I used to have a complex about it, but there's always that, how brown are you type of thing, but even if you're like, even my first generation friends have that problem. It's just something us Latinos like to do. I mean, it's like, even if you live in Mexico, it's like, well, what part of Mexico are you from? There's always this little hierarchy in everything that I've experienced anyway.
So do you feel brown enough now, Monique? Like, are you brown enough?
I feel brown enough. My first name, I'm named after my dad's mother. My middle name is Monique. So my first name, and the reason why I'm called, I go by Monique, is because nobody's been ever in school and whatever. Nobody has been able to say my first name. So my first name is Hermila, Hermila.
Oh, like hermosa. Es como
yeah. And they used to call my grandma Mila.
La hermosita.
Yes. So, but try to say that in Central California and where I'm from in kindergarten, and they're like Hermila, Hermes, all this, so we're like, okay, we're just going to call you Monique. And that's kind of what stuck, and it's old school Mexican name. Like, I get it. Like when I go to the clinic, and they see that name, they're like, Hermila, pásale. Like they're expecting some lady that doesn't speak English to come through. And then there's me. I'm like, here I am, It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Maija, do you feel brown enough?
Never. I am like, my whole life is proving both sides. But I mean, it's very funny because my father is an immigrant from Sicily. And so I find the immigration side is very, very different, because I find that Italians that have been in America, I'm a first generation of my family. And so if you have the next generations always seem to get like, hey, over here. So they do if you're second or third generation from Italian, all of a sudden you're Goomba. And then they're like the guys with the sweats, and then they're talking with their hands. But like the immediate Italians are like, we don't associate. They get bougie. Like the Sicilians get bougie.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm like, no. We don't like the mafia. We don't like this. You guys like, I got a cousin who's made over here. He's a made guy. And don't mess with me. I got my bat in the car. Like, oh my, those Sicilians. So that's the Italian side, and then for the Black side of my family, being African American, I am definitely never Black enough. In fact, So many times I've actually heard those horrible words.
Give us examples of when people are like call you out on the not being like. I would love to hear those details of like when does it come up and how do people like be like what do they do like and same thing for Monique.
Comes
when are
up
those moments
every
of
day.
you're not brown or black enough? Tell us, Maija.
Every day of my life,
Like,
well, okay, so my normal like Thanksgiving would be like, it would be kind of, pass the peas. Oh, that white bitch at the end of the table. Oh, I'm like, wait a minute. Wasn't I half white bitch, Aunt Marlene? You know what I mean? Like, I have an aunt that loves me to death, but she's traumatized because her first husband ran off with a white woman. Second husband ran off with a white woman. And the third husband ran off with a white man. So when she sees me, she's always giving me my pro-black speech. Now, the rest of my family members that aren't crazy like Aunt Marlene, they'll do this. They're like, we'll go to barbecue. Are you eating the potato salad? You see, Maija, people of color really like potato salad. I'm like, I don't know. Like they have to communicate. If you don't know that our people really, I'm like, okay, so I get that from family members. And then I get from my cousins, now equal group, my cousin group is, if you actually look black, why do you say that you're anything but black? Because in the black community, by law, you're black if you're black at all.
Right?
Yeah, and I'm like, well, it's weird. If I had white people on one side, I maybe would just say I'm black. But when you got Italians, it took like this, and they move with their hands, and they got an octopus sitting on the side of the table that they're about to chop open and eat, or like a goat head. Then then it's a very extreme culture today. Yeah, and they fought over me. And then I also have a problem, which has really arisen of like being black enough is one thing, but now with this Rachel Dolezal nonsense, I am so tested. Like I'm tested. Like people don't. But I'm so grateful. Like when Black AF came out, at first I was upset because I was like, man, I have been telling this story for 20 years. I deserve a sitcom. Why can't I get a sitcom? But then I'm like, it's actually best that Quincy Jones's daughter went first because he's so prevalent that people, if she says, I'm Quincy Jones's daughter with her straight hair, my hair is like this, but she's like, with her straight hair, they go, oh, so she's okay. So everyone accepts her, but nobody accepts me. And then I got to walk around with identification. Well, this is my great grandmother. Like, this is my cousin. I swear it's my cousin.
I'm gonna FaceTime her right now.
And then it's funny because there is actually like a complexionism thing that goes on in the community. And I come from my family. They have Vice President Harris. Was she's a AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha, which if you were in the first black sorority back in the day, my aunt told me you had to show a blue vein to be able to get into the sorority. That's how fair you had to be. So you had to show your blue vein was one of the ways. Yeah. And so I was.
That just sounds like they do a lot of heroin.
But it's funny because there are as I'm finding as I'm older, there are people who both parents are black that are my complexion. And my cousin April was doing this AKA thing online, and I had to send my manager this image. The browner girl is my cousin April. Those two other white women are both black women. Oh okay, goodness. So this is an AKA gathering. Like, this is not.
Is that a snapshot of the help?
So she's putting out the receipt.
Is that like?
No, for real. And these are the top black sororities. These are women who are at the top attorneys, and all that are one of the top. We come in all shades. So
same over here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. But when you get into, but the thing is that it becomes you're always tested. Are you going to be true enough, or are you going to try to pass as white when an opportunity comes or something goes wrong? Are you going to sell us out? Are you going to turn around and be on the side of, like if one of these Trump mobs come out and the KKK guys and the Proud Boys show up, are you going to really say who you are? Or are you going to make it easier? Are you going to slide? And so it's been like, that's the only reason why the complexion issue is there is, are you really true? Or are you going to try to use an opportunity are you going to move ahead and pass for white whenever it's convenient, and then you're black when it's convenient?
So it sounds like it's coming from resentment that they don't get to fly under the radar. Like they get, because
I don't find it as resentment. I see it the opposite. I think white America has resentment. I think Black America has been tortured, hated, destroyed, burned, hung. So the resentment is warranted. And so when I've gone on stage in a white room and people don't accept me for saying who I am proudly, I resent that. And I find they have the issue. When I've gone into a black comedy room and the room literally screamed, white bitch, get off the stage, I just think like, man, I got to come up with a funnier joke. Because I need to let people know that I'm safe. I'm safe. My mother is African American. I love my mother more than anything in this world. I'm not coming in here trying to pick up on black men because I think I'm not here trying to. I am here because I'm here because this is my people and I love being around my people, even though I might look like this. And so so it's a matter of feeling safe. It's a matter of like, is this person I'm gonna find them funny than 3 jokes now? They're gonna throw all of us under a bus and say something that's but it's taken me a long time to even realize there's a dialect shift, because even in comedy, like Italian humor is so crass that I'll do a joke that kills in an Italian room and I'll go to a black room and they'll be totally offended and be like, why would you say that? And I'll be like,
Yep, I feel you on that. I used to have an abortion joke, killed in a black room. They were not feeling it.
Pun intended.
They were like, "What you say about killing that baby?" I was like, They were like, "No, girl."
This is a horrible segue. But speaking of that,
speaking of abortion,
time for monologues. My mom, she is very she has a little bit of resentment with my father's mother, her mother-in-law, because she wanted her to have an abortion. And she always reminds me, she's like, everybody told me to have abortion, but I had you anyway.
You happy?
And I'm like,
oh,
wait, it's like she uses it over me. She's like, go take out the trash because I chose not to have abortion. So like every time that she wants me to do something, she's like, I could have an abortion, but I didn't. So go wash my car. Like she just uses it as this thing to like make me do shit growing up.
You need to use that in your act. That is hilarious.
I've never talked about it before.
I mean, couldn't anybody essentially have an abortion? Mom, all these women out here could have had abortions.
Oh so what are time for the monologues? What are some of the things that your mom has taught you, or strong women in your life? Maybe it's your grandmother, your aunt. What are the strong women's, in your life? What have they told you? What have they inspired you to do? What are some of the messages that strong women in your life have in your psyche?
Kind of piggybacking off you, my mom didn't say, she doesn't threaten me with abortion, that she could have had an abortion, but she does do things like if she asks me to do something, like, I don't know, like I'm going to go see her to visit her and I'm thinking I'm having a nice afternoon with my mom. And then I get like a flood of text message of what to bring from the store. I'm like, I wasn't even going to go to the store, Mom. I was just going to come see you. And then it will be like, well, watch, when I die, you're going to wish you could go to the store for me.
Oh, so she uses her death.
Oh yeah, when I'm gone, you're gonna wish you could do this for me. Because she lost her mother at a very young age, and she also had to share a mother with 10 other siblings. So she lost her mom when she was 14, and she had 10 siblings she had to share my grandma with. So she says, she uses that over me. Like, I think my grandmother's death literally defined like my mom's and the rest of her siblings the whole life, including it's coming into my life now, because it's like, you don't know what it's like. When you don't have a mom, you're going to wish you could do these things for her. I wish I could do these things for my mom. And I'm like, you really wish that you can go right now at midnight to go get you some ice cream before I leave to go home. She's just big on the guilt trips, big. But she also does give me some good advice. Like, my mom has taught me to, she's drink a lot of water, mija. Drink as much water as you can, because, it's the cure all. Anything you have wrong with your life, like if your car won't start, my mom's like, put water in it, If your back hurts, my mom's like, drink water. I mean, everything. Like, she told me the other day when my car wouldn't start to put water in the battery. I'm like, in the battery? She's like, Google it. You can put water in a battery. I mean, I come from a very strong line of strong women on my mom's side. She has 5 sisters. And 3 of them helped raise me. Aunt Grace, the one that got me into comedy, she, you know, whenever like a guy does you wrong, she always says like later days and better lays. You don't need that guy, you know?
I love that. Later days and better days.
You know, like my Nina Maria, my godmother, if you have phlegm, spit it out. She says, if it's not paying rent, spit it out. I mean, these are little things that that help me in my life. You know, they're not lifelong, you know, deep sermons, but hey, when I have phlegm, I hear my aunt's voice. You know, when a guy's doing me wrong, I hear my aunt's voice. When my back hurts, I hear my mom's voice. Drink water. So,
yeah. Do you know what the word for water is in Russian?
What?
Vodka.
Like that.
No, it's serious. The word for water is voda, and the word for vodka, it means little water. So you know how you go ito in Spanish?
Mm-hmm.
So vodka is like little water. So like literally, it's just you drink some little water. And so my mom's the same way. She's like, oh, you have problem? Vodka. And then vodka. That's the solution. So I totally get this water solution. Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Maija, give us a monologue or a grandmother, or, you know, some other strong woman in your, maybe it was even a fellow comedian. I don't, is that just
No, the women in my like my mother, one thing she always said, don't come down to them, let them come up to you. So let people rise and inspire good, but don't go down and diminish yourself. And I think that was a long life lesson for me that it took me a long time to learn because I lost my mom at 14. But it's kind of what's interesting, I think, and what keeps me going is my like, you know, I was showing the picture with the ladies, and this woman, my cousin, April. This woman, really, my Aunt Linda raised her and 2 other kids by herself. She became a top, not only one of the top attorneys, she's in charge of like the Board of Education of Ohio. She opened 2 charter schools in communities of color, that people that really needed help. She opened her own charter schools.
Wow.
And she actually, and take care of her, raising her kids that are now like at like the top universities. And she has time enough to come to my shows when I'm in Cleveland, and in the back, she's like Coach Parcells. She's like pacing in the back. You know what I mean? She's like, make it go this way. You got to tell the story that way. She's the funniest person I've ever met. But one of the things that she's taught me was that it's not easy. Like she would tell me the struggle she went through. She opened like probably more charter schools for other people, for more like white males that open charter schools, or white people that open charter schools. And when she went to do her own, that it did not stop until last second, the amount of drama and obstacles that were thrown her way. And so it makes me realize that the obstacles are real, but she always handles them with absolute grace. And she's giving with grace and carries herself with grace, and is probably the funniest person I've ever known, funnier than any comedian I ever known, my cousin April, with absolute grace. And so for me to have someone who is like a lifelong winner and not quit, who didn't have remotely the advantages, and is just fabulous and amazing. Like for me, like that to me is, I got to keep going. I got to keep up with April. And what else she does is too, she's very spiritual. So, you know, she really stays in the Bible lesson and stays in her church lesson. And each people have their own thing. I've also have family that are Buddhists and different backgrounds. But truthfully, since I've come back to staying with the prayerful work, waking up and knowing that no man has power over me, but God has put something in my spirit to carry me and sustain me regardless of what goes wrong. You end up finding solutions when you hit the brake, when something gets in the way. You end up finding, if you're quiet enough, a small voice will come and say, go left, go right. And you really will. You could solve real business problems, and that you do, you know, and that like, I deserve good. Why not? You know? And so to have people in your life that raise the bar of your standard of living and what you can do for yourself, and that believe 100% in your dream and will help you articulate what you're trying to do on your journey. I hope to be able to do that for other people and be that light. But it's been, you can handle, I think comedians as women too, we lose grace because we're trying to be funny. But the grace reads what's on camera. It's beautiful. It's feeling beautiful, even if you're doing self-deprecation, if you feel beautiful inside, there's something that shines. And for a long time, I didn't feel beautiful. I was never accepted, didn't have prom dates, but I have like some people in my life. Yeah, no, I was a late bloomer, super late. Yeah, it's like I couldn't even get a date till I like nobody liked me till I taped Def Jam. So,
Aw.
and then they liked me, and I was like, why do they like me now?
Oh my God, I was like, oh my God, girl, I'm like, am I gay? I don't know if I'm gay.
I was just always fabulous. I don't know about this. I'm just kidding.
No, but it's for real. I think I got some jacked up photos too. And so, but the thing is that like the advice is don't come down. Let people rise to you and do things with grace. And don't be afraid of it being hard, because it's not personal. It really is hard. It's really hard, and it's really hard for people of color. It's really hard for if you're gay or come from a different background. If you don't fit in, it's okay. It's going to be hard, but don't lose your grace. And you know what I mean. And whatever that, and to maintain your grace, it really takes a level of spirituality to be able to come back to that shine and know that you're going to be okay, even in the worst circumstances. You know, like love, God, spirit, that's still with you.
To just be able to, because we can step out of character real quick, especially when our egos are touched, you know. So just to kind of remember that.
But as a woman or of people of color, they expect us to act crazy. Even Italians, they expect us to act crazy. And so for me, a lot of times I'd be like, I'm gonna be tough, I'll act crazy too. And it's like, no, I'm expected as a woman to act crazy. They've labeled us all as crazy. Oh, she's just crazy. Is she hurting? No, she's crazy. Did you rob her? No, she's crazy. They do that to us all the time without us even acting crazy. So it's like we don't hurt. You hurt yourself if you don't stay three steps ahead of where you know you're going to be called crazy. You got to be ahead of them so the people will listen.
Crazy.
Be ahead of the game.
So
I want to do the power word before we go out. What does the word, we're going to do 2 power words, 2 S words, solidarity and success. What does that mean to you, Monique? Solidarity and success. And then Maija also, solidarity and success. Monique, please.
Well, I think solidarity, I mean, just supporting one another. You know, I was tapping a little bit earlier on Latinos and the way I feel that in my experience, how, you know, generationally, or, you know, you're this or you're like that, you know, I know we're different. I know, like, you know, a Cuban American is different than a, you know, Mexican American or whatever. But for me, I think just supporting one another, understanding those differences, but still, you know, having each other's back in a sense, not just so quick to be like against one another. That's what that kind of looks like for me. Even if we're different, like, you know, I got Trumpsters in my family, and it's been very hard. And it's been very, very hard. And trying to remember that, because I'm so quick just to get mad and see red, and this is my own personal things. And it's just like, okay, Monique, you know, just love them from afar and just know that you got their back when they're really going to need it. You know, for me, that's showing solidarity to my family, to my community. And success is just, for me, being happy in what you do, whether it's babysitting kids or being a CEO, just being happy in what you do, having faith that, you know, if it's not going your way, it will. And just finding your happiness in whatever you do, on whatever level that is. It could be as a mother, as a girlfriend, as a successful business, as a business person, whatever. Just trying to find a happiness along the way. And when you do it, if you can find that, then I think that you're successful.
I love that joyful journey just keeps getting reiterated, that joyful journey, which I totally 120% agree with. Maija, what do you think? Solidarity. What does that mean to you?
It's the phrase that just keeps coming, which is what you were saying before, like freely as you receive, freely give. So I have been really working with that. And the more I have really given of myself, and I've been so scared, like, oh, here's an idea, I might want to use that. Like, you're not using that idea. Share it with somebody who can really benefit from it. Or here's a plan I did for. I was like, let it go. And so much more has come back to me that I really haven't had really any lack from this time of being off work. And I'm finding that learning to give of myself and not worry about what's going to happen to me has been the most successful like move that I've had. And then the idea of like success, I'm thinking that with success, I think it is kind of like be whole and all things come to you. And it's where you measure your success. And I think that being able to just I'm looking at the note above.
Yeah, go ahead and
see
read it
more
out
of my comments.
with Mr. Skin. Read your note for her.
Solidarity, empower each other, so even if you don't agree with each other. Exactly. And that's and the thing is, I feel like if with success is that you have to, what is your success is you have to measure. Like if you don't say, if I'm going, well, my success is, did I finish this film project, or did I get this amount of money, or did this happen to me? And if your success is like, my job is to go in and shine and uplift people and everything else will work itself out. Did I do that today? Just like it's all tied back in. Did I go back in and I make everybody feel a little bit better? Did I share something positive? And did I uplift people? I think that's ultimately the success. And I think that now that I've changed to do that more than getting 15 new jokes written, or finishing a new script, or getting 15 different sales. It's really, it's in a different place now, saying that I've been successful with my day because, wow, I made a difference in that person's life. So that's where I'm.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Yeah. That for me, this week, success was making that difference in people's lives and sitting out, having dinner in Hillcrest in San Diego, and having the vets roll by and being, yo, Iggy, hey. I'm like, oh, hey, Mark. And my friends who've been living here for years were like, how long have you been here? I'm like, 3 days. I'm like, and like every homeless vet in the neighborhood and staff is all like, hey. So to me, that to me was just like, that was like, wow. Like I've made like a little difference. Just not a lot, but just like, I've made that little mark when I've connected. That's what it really was. Is like I felt a true connection with my neighborhood and the people around me, and that just that giving, and then the universe giving it back to me, and just really working on building that connection. And having the universe kind of give it back was just really nice. So to me, that was a successful weekend for me. I want to quickly, before we go, do we have any big shows coming up? I mean, Maija, you got your Dry Bar comedy special. Obviously, you need to download the app, watch it if you haven't. I mean,
it's all over now. They loaded it to Facebook. They loaded it to YouTube, so people can just get it if they go to Dry Bar and look me up.
Watch it on YouTube, right?
Yeah, and they put it up on everything now. And
I love how she's like,
yeah. So that's.
She's like, yeah,
it's everywhere.
No, but I was just thinking about what your last statement was, and I think that we all are looking for, how does it manifest? Like, how do you manifest abundance, and that the money and the numbers and the career, and it's almost like you have to have, the lines have to be very specific. Like I'm here trying to give and show and uplift. And then, I'm finding agents and people in the business, like higher up, that they're like, wow, you really were concerned about how was my day? Yeah. You were thinking, you know what, maybe I want to work with you because I feel safer around you, because everyone's butting up against each other, trying to get what's next, as opposed to that. And that's how it manifests. But I just want to say that.
Love that. No, I love that. Like,
see, she's listening, taking it in.
How can you make that the casting director's day easier? They're on their 5th cup of coffee and their 10th cigarette, and they're exhausted, and they just want to find the right person for how can you make instead of coming there like, what can you do for me? How can you make like when you go in on set, how can you make the grip or the makeup people feel better? Show up with some donuts, show up early, ask, uplifting the whole crew makes such a difference. And we're all in it together, and having that connection and being like, once you get that. And it took me, I'm still figuring that out, and I'm in my 40s, but like, it took me a while it's not about me, it's about we. And once you make that, the joyful journey, it becomes a joyful journey. It turns into, it really does. It really, really does. Monique, do you have any, you said you have a show coming up. We find you on Instagram to find out when the dates are.
Yeah, actually, it's a show this Sunday. Again with my boy Narciso. He has an outside show, socially distant. People are going to be separated for all of those. It's on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. at McGuay's in Commerce. I don't know how to spell it, guys. Look on my Instagram. It's over here off the 7 for LA people, off the 710 and 5-ish where they meet. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun. Oh, it's a free show, no cover. So, but the food is amazing. It's good. They got some really good Mexican food, and it's gonna be me, Narciso, Omar Corriabas, and George Wang. And there's gonna probably be some drop-ins too. So
I'm like, I want to go. I want to go.
it's no cover.
I'm doing a show at 5 o'clock online on Zoom with Dat Fan, and then later tonight at 8 o'clock in San Clemente, same thing, outdoor with Mistress K and Susanna Weiss. So we're gonna go rock the mic. It's gonna be a double feature. So I'm gonna be running up and down the coast.
Yeah,
it's slowly share this.
And so yeah,
I just got these
Everything
things.
will
Check
be
this out.
there. Ooh, what do you got, Maya? What do you got?
These I ordered from Amazon. They are little mic shower caps. So you can put like a little cap on the mic, and they're super cheap.
Oh, look at
so when
that.
you go and you work, you go and you work, you can disinfect the microphone, and you put this on they're little shower caps for the microphone.
Do you know what I thought?
And you get them on Amazon for like $10.
Oh my!
Is that what they're called? What are they called, Marja?
They're actually called they're just put up microphone caps, like covers,
like microphone condoms.
They're like a mic condom. Yeah, and it's just like so that you can
like
that way you
what do you call
yeah, I bought a bunch of them and I sent them over to Laugh Factory too. I was like, guys, we should be using these.
I accidentally
so
I kissed the mic by accident. I got so excited. I was like, mwah, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I
had COVID. I think I'm like on my last. Well, they say your antibodies last 90 days to 6 months. So I'm on like my last 2 weeks of antibodies from having COVID. So let's go. You know.
This is
but tell Narciso too. I just got these. I just got them, and you can just get them on Amazon, and they're super cheap. And you just put them on, and I think all the comics should have them. So I just bought myself like a big stack of them.
Maybe I want to look it up because sometimes they
inside. This is literally when she went. She goes, "I got these." You said she goes, "I got these mic caps, right?"
Yeah.
Would you call them?
Shower caps.
Hold on.
Yeah,
they're like mic shower caps
for my curly hair.
They're called.
They had little microphones on it, so I was all excited. I thought it was gonna be like a shower cap that I could put on that had microphone design.
Hilarious.
Got it.
They
disposable
microphone cover,
sterilized and deodorized.
So we got to keep,
and you can get them in different colors. Yeah,
keeping ourselves safe, keeping ourselves healthy. This was such an amazing hour of power, Monique.
Thank you for having me.
Great to meet you, Maya. I absolutely adore you. Next
I
week,
love you guys.
Friday, same time, same channels. We love all of you. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Susanna. Thank you, Mistress K. Everybody from the UK, Scotland, Wales, New York, LA, and in between. Much love from the Misfit Toys. We'll see you.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Ciao.